Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming to you tonight from the studio and the old Fifth Third building, I always call it. I don't know if I should be calling it that, at the CEC on the corner. And we have some interesting guests with us tonight. We have Carl and Amy Wilms, who are the caretakers down at the bird sanctuary. And they're going to be talking to us about birds and the bird sanctuary and how important it is to us. And then we have my neighbor, and I've just lost her name.
Donna.
Donna Stern, who is going to talk to us about something very special at the Chamber of Commerce. So we're really proud to have each one of you tonight. Donna, I don't think you've ever done this with me before.
Not with you. You were missing, and I came and did it for something, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, okay. Well, I get missing every once in a while.
About a year ago, yeah. I think someone else was taking your spot.
Oh, Fran's really good. He loves to do it for me. I know. He's excited. No, he's really good to me. Well, anyway, tonight let's start out first and talk a little bit about the Mary Gray Bird Sanctuary. I got to tell you something funny. One time we had an obituary in the paper, and they got all messed up in the paper, and they said the burial was at the Mary Gray Bird Cemetery.
Oh, no.
Well,
And every time I think of the bird sanctuary, I think about that. But those things happen. So tell us where it is first, because there are probably some people that are watching us tonight or will be watching over the next month don't even know where the bird sanctuary is. So tell us.
the bird sanctuary is a little southwest of Connersville itself, about 4 miles as a straight line goes. You go down 121, take County Road 350 south to the west, and when the County Road 350 south stops, you'll find yourself at the entrance to the sanctuary.
You just go down right in there, don't you?
And there's a nice lane this time of year. It's a little dark tunnel of trees, and it'll be changing to a tunnel of orange and yellow here shortly. And then in the wintertime, if you get a good snow, it turns into a little toboggan run going down into the sanctuary. So it's part of it's in Columbia Township, and part of it's in Orange Township. So it's kind of in the borders there. That's pretty much where it is.
Okay.
It's
Now, do you live there?
Yes, Amy and I are resident caretakers. There's 2 households, and they're charged with taking care of the property.
So there's two families live
There's
there.
2 families. The other families, the Abernathy's. Natalie and Trevor Abernathy live there, and they have their new daughter that's just joined the family. So, and together technically it's a volunteer position. We make sure the place is kept up and try and entertain people that we get a chance to meet out there and things like that.
You don't get paid for taking care of it?
We get the house in exchange for our efforts to take the place.
And the Abernathys do too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a lot of taking care of, isn't it?
We look at it as a second job.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
it really is a second job. So
So he looks at it as a job, and I look at it as it's the perfect storm between. I don't look at it as a job, it's something that I love. And so when we're out working on a trail or setting up for a wedding or meeting someone that comes out to the sanctuary, it's our life.
that's a real good way to look at it. Technically it's a job, but it's a lifestyle that
It
we
is.
really enjoy.
Gosh. How big is it?
It's grown over the years. When it was first started, it was about 250 acres in the early 40s, and then that was a gift from Alice Gray. She wanted to leave the property in memory of her daughter. And then her husband, Finley, gave another 300 some acres. And then over the years, we've had members of the Indiana Audubon Society donate specifically to acquire more land. And so now we find ourselves at just a tad bit over 700 acres.
All in woods.
Almost all of most of it is in woods. We have a couple sections of former cropland that's going through the process of succession right now, where it's being let go on take nature's course. And then we have a prairie that was established probably 15 to 20 years ago that is mostly tall grass prairie, and then we have some ponds. Now we have trails that walk that take you throughout mostly of the east end of the property. So we have a total of 4 ponds out there, and we have a little campground for members of the society. And
How do you join the society?
well, anybody can join. The simplest way to do it these days would be to go online to indianaaudubon.org, and there's a membership page there. But out at the sanctuary itself, we also have a kiosk next to the main parking lot that has membership information out there too. You know, some people think you have to be asked to join, and that's just not the way it works. It's you know, anybody can sign up and join, and you know, we invite more members. It seems like if we look at, it seems like we almost have more members of Rush County at the sanctuary than Fayette County right now, which is something that maybe we can get turned around.
Yeah. Well, you're an unusual couple, because most couples, the woman does most of the talking. And,
I'll take my turn.
she actually allowed you to tell us.
I do.
So you like living at the bird
I
sanctuary?
absolutely love living at the sanctuary. I'm originally, I wasn't a bird watcher. I've always enjoyed nature, but never had the opportunity to be outside. I grew up here in Connersville, in fact. So once we started living out there, just being outside, learning about nature, learning about birds and butterflies and insects and snakes and the whole gamut of being in nature is just, it's phenomenal. And when people come out and want to do some bird watching or learn about the trails, it's meeting the people who are coming out is just, it's a wonderful way to live and talk to people and meet people.
So do you have to be a member to walk the trails and come down and use it?
No, you don't need to be a member. You
Do you
can
pay
come
a
out to the
fee
sanctuary.
to do
No
it?
fees.
No fee?
No fees are included. If you do decide to become a member, we do have a primitive campground that we give members access to, and we also allow some fishing on the property for members. Other than that, it's absolutely free to come out there. We're open from dawn until dusk, and we welcome people to come out and walk the trails.
And the trails are just kind of rustic trails, they're not blacktop.
They're not blacktop, no.
We
No.
do have a donation box next to the sanctuary, next to the main kiosk, because the sanctuary is run completely by private donations. So although there are no set fees to come to the property, we do, of course, appreciate people letting their appreciation be known by offering a donation.
So do people come out there and walk in the winter too?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's one of the most beautiful times out there.
You ever been out there, Donna?
I have, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I was going to ask you a question about the bird count that they. Tell me about that. How do you count
It
the
is so
birds?
fun. So the bird count is called the Audubon Christmas Bird Count. So it's actually a national program. So there are bird counts throughout the whole nation. So we meet on the first Saturday right after Christmas and get a gathering of people, and we usually split up into groups, and we'll either walk the property, and our goal is to look at the number of birds that we're seeing, but also the different species that we're seeing. So we may find 40, I think it's around 40 to 45 different species on the property. So we'll look at how many species that we're seeing and how many of those species. So we're trying to get a good bird count. And we do it every year. It's been going on for probably well over 50 years at least. And it's a really good indicator of looking at what's going on in the environment. So if I see a goldfinch and I may see 50 on a bird count, so the next year if I see maybe 10, then it gives me an indication that maybe something is happening with that specific species of bird. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, I read about that in the paper all the
Yeah.
time, and I thought, I wonder what birds do they count and how do they
Right,
do it?
exactly. And the nice thing is you don't have to be a great bird watcher to do it, because the people who end up coming out we all love to share our passion. So if someone comes out and they may only know they're feeder birds, but once they get out on the trails and you start looking at the different species that we have, we're more than willing to teach, and everyone's willing to learn, and it's a real camaraderie of people.
Now, you also do that with the butterflies too?
Yes, we do that with the butterflies. About 3 years ago, I didn't know a single butterfly. I wouldn't have known a monarch from a painted lady, but we have folks from a national organization that specifically looks at butterflies, and it's about the same thing as the Christmas bird count. So we gather a group together, and about 10 o'clock in the morning, butterflies start coming out in the prairie areas. So we go along the property and we look at the number of species that we have, the different species, and the total number of count of each species that we have. And this year was just so exciting because we had the swallowtails, the black swallowtail butterflies were just in such high numbers. It was a lot of fun to be able to get to see them and learn the different types that we have.
Now, between the butterflies and the birds, I'm asking all these questions.
Well,
I just want to know.
I'm just enjoying it.
Between the butterflies and the birds, do you find new species coming in? Is that seldom that happens?
It's seldom, but let's talk about the birds, for instance, because Carl and I had such a wonderful Christmas this year. About 2 or 3 days after Christmas, we had a special bird that you normally wouldn't see around Connersville in this specific part of Indiana. And when it was called an evening grosbeak, and if anyone is listening and wants to look up evening grosbeak on the computer or find a bird book and look at it, it's an absolutely beautiful bird. Well, it's something special that since we don't see it around here, we put it out on what we call a listserv. So birders have this little listserv that they talk about what birds they're seeing and special things. So this evening grosbeak shows up. We ended up having 6 this year. And by putting it out on a listserv, we had about 150 people come out to our house and look at our backyard feeders to see this specific bird. So it was a lot of fun.
Is it a small bird?
It's about the size of a cardinal.
Oh, okay.
It's cardinal size.
Okay.
And one of the interesting things about the evening grosbeak is that it's a bird that migrates south. But when it migrates south, its southern range is usually northern Indiana.
Okay.
So it comes down from Canada to northern Indiana for the winter. So when they come this far south, that's what makes it really unusual. And Amy mentioned that we had lots of visitors come in, and that's really, one of the cool things that we kind of mentioned about Birdtown potential is that these people were coming from Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, all over Indiana because they had never seen one of these birds, and that's what bird nerds call a life bird. And so they were like, oh, I only have to drive 3 hours to go see this grosbeak? I'll do it. And they jump in their car and they take off.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you must meet some interesting
Oh, we
people
really
then
do.
that come
It's fun.
from that
We really
far away.
do.
I went on a mission trip several years ago, and one of the gentlemen that went always comes down there. He was in Audubon Society, and he would come down for his meetings, and we would stay in contact with each other. And that's how I learned about things that were going on out there, and I've gone to a wedding reception out there. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
The area is just beautiful.
How is Fayette County connected to the Indiana Audubon Society? How are we connected? How is Fayette County, other than the sanctuaries here in this county?
Well, the Indiana Audubon Society is our nation's second oldest Audubon society, right behind Massachusetts. And so when it was founded in 1898, a lot of the people from the state that was involved in the organization a lot of them were college professors and medical doctors and lawyers, business people scattered across the state. And they had a close connection to Earlham College, Ball State University, which are close to the area. And then when the Grays, Finley and Alice Gray, were very connected to the Audubon Society. And so when they made their donation to the society, that's what put a focus here. And it gave the Indiana Audubon Society a permanent mailing address.
And this is the largest one in Indiana, right?
Well, that's an interesting question. There's lots of other chapters of Audubon Society around the state, but many of them are connected to the National Audubon Society, which is a different organization. And so there's chapters in Indianapolis and Muncie and up north, but those are mostly affiliated with the National Audubon Society. So the Indiana Audubon Society is a fairly small organization by comparison.
But I mean, this bird sanctuary is the biggest in Indiana, in land-wise, 700 acres.
It probably is the biggest privately owned nature preserve in the state.
Yeah. Do you not have trouble out there with people coming out and wanting to ride the quads on it or anything like that? Do you?
On occasion, yes, we do.
But you handle it. You got a gun and you.
No.
Yeah, we try and handle it in diplomatic fashion, and sometimes the diplomacy has to become a little more assertive than others. But most people respect the place, and that's wonderful. We have neighbors that'll call up and they'll say, "We saw somebody on the backside in this color car. Do you know who that is?" And if we know who it is, we'll say, "Yeah, we know it's so and so." But if we don't know who it is, then we might jump on the car, or jump on the quad, and go back and look to find out what's going on.
I had a fellow tell me today that he knew a guy that used to hunt mushrooms down there, and he knew right where they were. You don't let people hunt mushrooms, do you?
Technically, no.
Technically.
No, they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to do that. But it's a large place, and it's hard to watch the whole place.
Do you know where they are?
I know where there's one.
I wouldn't know a mushroom if it was right in front of my face. There are some people who can find them and some can't.
So how many people visit this bird sanctuary each year? Do you have any idea what the count is?
What I do is I keep a list on our kiosk so that people, as they pull in, they can say where they're from and maybe what they've seen. My good estimate that I would say is between 3,000 and 4,000 people each year visit the sanctuary. Not at the same time, which is great because most of the time when you come out, there may be only 1 or 2 cars at the property. So it gives you the opportunity to be by yourself if you want to take a hike, or sometimes there may be more folks there. I think, but the interesting part about the sanctuary is we're in the AAA book, and we get a lot of traffic coming into the sanctuary from all around the world, I can say. With having my list put together, that we find out that we've got people coming from California, Montana, Germany. We had a visitor from Germany that came in, so all around the world. And we like to connect that with the economic impact that it actually brings into Connersville. So if you think about maybe 500 people from Connersville actually come to the sanctuary, but then your other 2,500 people are coming from around the world and from around the local United States. And when they're coming here, they're buying gas, they're eating out, they are maybe picking up some bug spray at the local CVS. So when you look at the people that are coming in, it also impacts our own community because they're visiting and they're spending money within our own community.
Sure, and I didn't realize that impact.
And we were talking about that in my office. That's the reason we wanted to do this program. We would like to bring greater education to our people, how important this is. Kind of like the railroad. We're getting that more and more with all the different trains. We want to bring that as one of the most important things. And we were in the office thinking how we could bring this forth to the people. And we were talking about Greensburg having the tree, and it's called Tree City. We wanted to think about calling this Bird City because of what we have, this wonderful complex. And I've been wrestling with the Christmas decorations that we put on the post downtown are faded, and we've rehabbed them for 6 years I've been mayor until you just can't rehab them anymore. And I told Joby today, don't put those things up. It's a disgrace to Christmas. And then I've been studying, during the bicentennial, we had these beautiful flags, or whatever you call them, on each post about the different things bicentennial. Wouldn't it be neat if we had red birds with snow, maybe? And maybe there's somebody out there that would donate some money. We just don't have the money to do this. But if we could put red birds and something pretty up and down Main Street, we got the pretty lights that go up Park Road. The Lions Club donated those, and we just ordered lights for those today, new bulbs. But we need to do something. What do you call those things? Not flags, but
The flags that hang down.
banners. Banners. That's
Banners.
they're tied top bottom. But maybe the chamber could work on that with us. But I was thinking about that. I was thinking all day about you guys coming. I was worried if you were coming. I kept saying, Ralph, keep calling those people. Be sure they're going to be there. He said, I've left messages.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway,
What's the cost to join the Audubon Society?
So it's $30 for an individual member, $35 for a family. That's a yearly membership. And then there are additional levels of membership. If you want to be a sustaining member or a cardinal member, it can go up to $100. So literally for $35 for a family, you can come out. You can do some primitive camping, do a little fishing.
Well,
and
you
just
would pay more
enjoy.
than that at a campground.
Absolutely,
For a
yes.
campsite per night.
But-
So, and to have the privacy that you would have there.
Exactly. And we realize that a lot of people don't care for primitive camping. However, it gets you out in the middle of nature. It really, especially with families. You know, we all watch TV and we all are connected to our computers, and this is something that is within our own neighborhood that families can do with their kids and enjoy at extremely low cost.
so this is what, when you say primitive, that's a tent.
Yes.
You can't
There's
stay
no
in.
water, there's no electricity, and we have 2 pit toilets that are just wonderful.
Getting back to nature.
It's getting back to nature. Generators are not allowed.
Can't have a camper,
Yeah, people bring their campers in, but
no generator.
no, I had
No.
Battery, you can use a
I had
battery.
a scout troop come in once, and they woke me up early in the morning with their generator so that they could fire up their microwave to warm up their donuts. And I let it be known that was
That's not primitive?
No.
I let
That's
them
not
know that was not in my definition of primitive camping. So it was a little
Well,
different.
that's good to know, because I remember when we didn't have microwaves, when I tell my kids that, they think I'm primitive.
Isn't that amazing?
But also, on the other hand, when you talk about being primitive, I mean, where they have wedding receptions out there, that's beautiful. And there's electricity and all the.
We do a number of weddings out. The Red Barn is probably one of the most photographed barns in Indiana. And it's a beautiful setting when we have weddings out at the sanctuary. We have, and we provide the chairs and tables and a little area. But anyone, who's interested in having an outdoor wedding, it's the perfect location
Oh,
for
absolutely.
it.
Is there
Yeah.
a charge to have an outdoor wedding there?
There is. For non-members, it's $300, and that includes both of the buildings that we have, which includes a full kitchen in the downstairs of the barn and some tables and chairs. We also have a Brooks Hall that has modern restrooms in it for guests who prefer that. So, and then, of course, setting up the chairs out in front of the barn is it makes for an absolutely gorgeous wedding any time of year.
I remember back in the old days, Central State Bank, my wife worked there, and we used to have picnics down there, annual picnics, and the church used to go down there. We used to have a church service. We'd roast a hog, we dug a hole and roasted a hog down there, and I think that's about the last time I was down there.
Yeah, that's
Now, let's talk about the birds. That's what we're here with.
Yes.
This time of year, what kind of birds would we see? Are you now looking at the birds that are getting ready to go south? Are they packing up?
This is I'm going to let Amy take most of this, but this is a really exciting time of year because we're at the peak of migration, where many of the birds that spend their summer in Canada and Wisconsin and Minnesota, because there's an abundance of insects for them to feed their young, they're flying to Central and South America right now. And Amy and I took a bird walk Sunday morning. We woke up pretty early and we were going to go out and take a bird walk, and I don't think we got farther than 10 yards away from the house because there were so many different birds right there. And it was just
Spending the night there on their way?
well, yeah, they fly during the night, most of them.
Oh, they do.
And then they come down to feed and recharge during the day when the insects are visible and the fruit and the berries and stuff are visible. So they come down to fatten up during the day, and then they take back off again at night.
And they fly at night.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that big cities get into problems because they build these 50-story buildings and they don't realize that Birds aren't looking ahead for what's in their way. They're looking at the stars or whatever, and in the morning they'll frequently find a number of birds that have been injured by
So
flying
can a
into this wall.
bird get up like 5 in the evening and fly all night?
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
strong enough to fly all night.
Go ahead. If you think about the ruby-throated hummingbird, which is a lot of people feed ruby-throated hummingbirds right now. So they are right now they're fattening up. They're getting ready to take off, and they're going to fly down to around Texas, Florida, and then they're going to fatten up, and they're going to take off, and they're going to fly all night long to get into Mexico. So you're talking how many miles? Probably.
Well, some of them fly directly nonstop across the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh my goodness.
And this is a bird that weighs.
I just looked at one in my window
Yep.
before I left.
Yep.
This is a fat ruby-throated hummingbird has the mass of about 1 nickel.
Oh my.
So
And
3.5 ounces.
It has enough energy to fly nonstop across the Gulf of Mexico, which is absolutely phenomenal. And I'll just say real quickly before that, Amy, talk about some of the warblers that are coming through right now. There's a bird called a red knot that flies from the Arctic to the Antarctic every year. And this one bird that has been banded, is it 8 years old now? Or it's an old bird, but they've clocked the number of miles and they've named it the moon bird because it has flown enough miles in its lifetime to go from Earth to the moon and halfway back. And this is a pretty
So
phenomenal
now
bird.
these birds, we got them going south into Mexico. We got them south, and then some of them come and stay here for the winter. This is south for some birds. What birds would that be that would spend the winter here?
So if you look at more of our resident birds that are hanging around here right now, and so you've got your northern cardinal. Everyone knows the cardinal is our Indiana state bird. Absolutely beautiful bird.
Is a cardinal and a red bird the same thing?
A lot of people do call, yes. There are many red birds, but most people call the cardinal the red bird. And we've got our Carolina chickadees, our tufted titmouse is around here. They're going to hang out and stay around here during the winter. Some robins actually stay, the American robin. A lot of people consider that a spring bird. Robins may migrate maybe 10, 20 miles down south as the food sources are there, but in the wintertime it's not too difficult to see your robins. So a lot of people don't realize that a lot of our birds actually hang out here.
You just broke my bubble because when I see a robin, I think it's spring.
I know, and that's what we want to teach people is a robin can be a sign of spring, but more likely red-winged blackbirds are a sign of spring. When the red-winged blackbirds come back, that's usually when you can say, okay, spring is on its way. So
What time do they come back?
February 12th. February 12th, February 14th.
Call me. I like that.
At the sanctuary, they are like clockwork.
my husband and I came home this February 12th, and I got out of the car, and he was getting out of his car, and we looked at each other, and it was like, red-winged blackbirds, we've got spring. So it's so as bird watchers and as nature lovers, we get connected into what's coming back and when spring is coming on, and that's a lot of fun. And it's,
Now, do
it's
you
fun to
get any
learn.
big birds like ducks and geese? And we don't have the black and white like we have in Michigan.
Oh, the loon.
Yeah, you don't have loons here, do we?
No, but we've had. Well, this past December, I had my first sightings of bald eagles on the sanctuary property. They were passing through; they weren't hanging out. But we get the great blue herons, which are a good-sized bird. We see American bitterns there on occasion, which is a good-sized bird. Wood ducks, lots of passing ducks. The biggest bird we probably out there have on a regular basis would be the great horned owl. And turkey vultures and black vultures.
Do they go away for the winter?
The black vultures and the turkey vultures.
They're heavy. They're almost big as a chicken, aren't they?
Big.
Yeah, they're good-sized birds, and and they are almost exclusively carrion eaters. They only eat dead stuff, and they will fly south in the winter. So they're a sign of springtime too. Even though people usually don't think of vultures as spring birds, but they come back.
So why are birds important to this world? Could we live without them,
Well,
other than the turkey at Christmas,
that would be
Thanksgiving?
that'd be interesting to. I hope we never have to find out if we could live without them. I think one of the main things that birds do, aside from be aesthetically pleasing and so forth, is that they are. Many people have heard of the canary in the coal mine analogy, where coal miners would frequently take a canary down into the coal mine with them, because if they're poisonous gases, the canary would succumb first, and so if the canary died in the coal mine, the coal miners knew it was time to get out. And since we're living amongst birds that are traveling and wintering in Central America and summering in North America, they are excellent barometers about the health of our planet. So if something is really going bad for the bird population in the north or the south, their population rises and declines will tell us some of that information first. And one of the interesting things I've heard, a very recent concern, is that as our planet's temperature is rising slowly, the insects, they are hatching based on temperature sensitivities, but birds travel with light sensitivities. And so the birds that fly to a certain region expecting to have insects at their ready are getting there a little bit later after the insects have already emerged. And so that's one of the big concerns we have about the temperature change that our planet's experiencing. So the birds are an excellent indicator of how healthy our planet is, because they don't live just in Indiana. They live in a much broader area. And so their health indicates planet health.
Well, I think I told you at the office, my wife has bird feeders all over the yard, and she feeds birds. Is that good? Should we be feeding birds, or should we let them get out on their own and do
Oh,
it?
absolutely. Feeding birds, number one, it's not going to keep them around. It's not going to change their habits. They eat, actually, it's a very small diet for them. However, especially when in times of year when we have a huge snowstorm or something, a different storm comes through our area, putting bird feed out there is the greatest thing that you can do to help them survive. And we all enjoy feeding them. I mean, what is it like when you see a chickadee come into the feeder and know it takes its piece of food and it goes on? So feeding them is great for them. It's great for us because we enjoy it. It doesn't change their habits. And especially right now, at this time of year, we're feeding hummingbirds. So a lot of people think that they need to take their hummingbird feeder and put it away now because the hummingbirds are supposed to migrate. And if we keep their hummingbird feeder out, that they may make the hummingbirds stay around a little longer by keeping their feeder out. But what we believe now is that we want you to keep feeders out. Keep them out until they freeze up in November, December, if you can keep them out that long. Because what we're finding is that by keeping them out longer, we're finding that different hummingbirds are coming through our area. And we're just helping them get to the place where they need to go. So you're not going to change their habits. You're not going to change their environment. They still know when they need to migrate. So
When we
keep
talk
those
about
feeders out.
hummingbirds, I've heard different things. Put it in red glass that attracts the sugar water, all that. What should we really be putting
That's
in
an
that glass?
excellent question. One of the things that we recommend is don't add the red dye to the sugar water. They're finding that some of the hummingbirds aren't doing well with the red dye, so they don't need it. Now they are attracted to the red color, which is fine, but it's more of the flower color that they're looking at than it is anything else. You can put about any color of hummingbird feeder out and they'll go to it. Best way to save some money is just to mix your own water. Do 4 parts of water to 1 part of sugar. So take a cup of sugar, add 4 cups of water. You can put it in the microwave and boil it if you want to, and then let it cool down and then put it into your hummingbird feeders. Right now, in this year, we had about 18 hummingbird feeders out.
Wow.
And I've gone through, we've gone through 100 pounds of sugar, well over 100 pounds of sugar. But at any given time, you could come out to the sanctuary and we had 50 to 100 hummingbirds.
Wow.
So, and one more really interesting fact about hummingbirds is if you think that you have, let's say you see 3 at your feeder, take that and multiply it by 5 or 6. So if you see 3 at the feeder, you probably actually have about 18 to 20 hummingbirds coming to your feeder.
Really?
And a lot of people just don't realize that, but with and we found that out through banding the hummingbirds and being able to determine that there's a lot more hanging out than what we realize.
It's amazing, those little wings, how they
It
can
is.
just keep that little body up.
It really is.
It is. It's one of nature's amazing things.
Hummingbirds are amazing. They're the one bird that can fly backwards, and they can fly forwards, backwards, and they can hover.
There's a hummingbirds. If it's a cool time of year, which you're getting to now, and they're migrating through, they go through a process called topper, which means that they have to lower their body temperature by about 20 degrees. Otherwise, they would starve to death before morning. So if they're staying overnight someplace, their body temperature has to lower that much.
Where
So
do they sleep?
they'll sleep
In a tree, or?
Yeah, they'll sleep in
Yeah,
a tree.
in the
They'll
trees.
look for a good hiding spot. I mean, most birds sleep during the night, and they find good hiding spots because there's a number of birds that will hunt birds at night, and if they don't find a good hiding spot, then they become dinner.
Yeah.
What's a good bird for like in town area? Like the thistle, what do you recommend for a good bird feed?
Yeah, your thistle feeder is going to feed your mainly your goldfinches, the American goldfinch. Your chickadees will come to a finch feeder, and then your other food that I would highly recommend putting out is your black oil sunflower seed. They'll bring in your cardinals and probably your titmouse that will come around for that. So by having your thistle feeder out and by also having some black oil sunflower seed out, you're probably going to bring in most of the birds that will be around our area.
Okay.
And this black oil sunflower seed is an excellent ground food also. There's a lot of, so if some food sprinkles out of your feeder onto the floor, or onto the ground, there's a whole bunch of birds that are ground feeders, and they'll come and get that. And the woodpeckers love the oil sunflower. They all like the oil sunflower. That seems to be
So
the
buying
most
them little boxes with all the stuff in it, and you just hang the little boxes, is that good too?
That's
That's
it.
it.
The
we
suet is
get
great.
some that got peanut butter in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of birds that really go. The woodpeckers love the suet.
Yeah, I buy all kinds for my wife, and I wrap them up so she gets a lot of gifts under the tree.
That's great.
And she
You
thinks
need to
she's getting a
listen to
lot. Does he do that too? Yeah.
You should.
I think she just gave him a hint
think
for
so,
that.
Getting back to that
that
bird
list
feeder for that hummingbird, I always put a little touch of Kool-Aid in it. Is that bad?
Yeah, I'm not saying
It turns it red or turns it,
Yeah, it's
I just put a touch in. It don't take, but just,
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't. I'm saying it's not needed, and you could be doing in the long run. You could be doing more harm than good. So,
so clear water's just as good.
yes,
Yep.
sugar water, 4 parts, 4 to 1.
Some people
all you
don't
need.
boil it, they just mix it up, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mix good. Yeah.
It doesn't,
I
the
always boil
boiling
mine.
makes the
Yeah.
sugar dissolve quicker.
Yeah.
But in terms of making it a sanitary solution, that's kind of far-fetched, because as soon as the first hummingbird sticks its beak in there, it's contaminated, and who knows where they stuck their beak last. So it helps the sugar dissolve more than keeps it sterile.
Well, it's we got the numbers up on the screen, 825-3245. If anybody'd like to call in, we show this program for a whole month, so a lot of people will get to see it. They'll be bored and they'll look at this program,
That's great.
But if there is somebody out there who'd like to hear about birds, we're going to switch over just for a minute. We're coming back to the birds. We haven't left the birds yet. But Donna is with the chamber, and she's doing a real weird thing. She's going to have a color run. Now, that could be that you run all the colors on the trees. I guess you could color on paper while you run. We could have people of color run. But what is it really?
A color me run is.
Oh, it's color me run.
It's because we color the participants that are running. And the color is cornstarch with a little bit of coloring in it. It's all environmental friendly. And if you walk, you get more on you than if you run through it.
How do you get it on you?
And people stand on the sidelines, and we have 3 different stations. This will all take place in Roberts Park. And there will be 3 different stations where people will be, that when the runners run by, they will throw the color on
With their
them.
hands?
With their
I
hands.
thought you were going to...
Well, there are some that you can use that it's like a fire extinguisher, if
Yeah.
you would, that you spray it. But they seem to think that this, either using the small Dixie cups with the color in it, or just you'll have a baggie and people will get handfuls and throw as the people go by. And it has.
Where do you get this color?
There's a company out of Cincinnati that we get it from, and you can buy. It's called USA Color. You can buy it all over. It's rather expensive. There's runs all over the nation now. I mean, it's an international thing, and ours are very, very inexpensive compared to the cities that I've been to that's had the runs. But anyway, it's for scholarships for the Chamber of Commerce, and it will take place October the 12th, and registration is at 8 a.m. The run starts at 9, but we really want to make this a family fun thing. We're going to have local magician Ryan Siebert will be coming and strolling through the crowd for the kids, so we really encourage families to come out. We're going to have face painting, a DJ. There will be plaques given in, I believe there's 5 different categories, and it will be men and women, boys and girls. And it's going to be a timed race, but we encourage people just to come out and walk and enjoy the fun. I know there are several people, and I invite the mayor to come and walk with us and get some color on him. And it's just a lot of fun, a family thing. And we used to have the Fall Festival in the park, and that just kind of lost its interest. So we're trying to bring something back, and I think this is the magic thing that's going to bring some activity in our park. And it is for families.
So do you pay to participate?
You pay to participate.
You pay to get color on you.
Pre-registration is.
What do I wear to get color on me? Nothing?
Well,
Do I come naked?
Well, no. We encourage you to wear a white shirt, some jeans or running pants, whatever, depending on the weather. But a white shirt, so the color all shows up, and it washes out of your hair, out of your clothing. Like I said, it's cornstarch with a little bit of color in it. Pre-registration is by October the 1st at the Connersville Chamber, and it's $20, and that you're guaranteed a t-shirt if you pre-register by October the 1st. Now, the day of the race, registration will be $25 and not guaranteed a t-shirt. First come, first served basis. The age groups will be ages 9 to 13, and these are both boys and girls. Ages 14 to 18, 19 to 26, 27 to 50, and 50 and up. And like I said, it will be timed because our runners, some of them are really, that's important to them for their time. So we're going to accommodate that, as well as the walkers, wheelchairs, strollers, whatever you want to come out in and join in the fun. We
How about
encourage
my
it.
Harley? Can I ride my Harley?
Well, no, because I think that would probably be interfering with the other runners. And I don't think you want that collar on your
think so either.
Harley.
They take
Well, if
you-
it all washes out. Okay, and how far are you going to run?
It's a 5K,
Okay.
and like I said, it's all encompassing in the park.
So it's all in the park.
And the park's going to be a busy day that day. It's the Altrusa
Chili Challenge.
Chili cook-off. That's on 14 acres, but we are staying in the park.
Oh, the chili
So-
thing's going to be on the 14 acres, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
it always is, yeah.
Yeah, that's over there.
Okay.
So a lot to do in the park that day. You can come and run and get your tummy empty and run over and get you some chili and finish out
What
your
do
day.
you wear? We know that. Will it stain my clothing? We already know it won't.
No, it will not stain
So
your
now there's
clothing.
only one other question. What color will it be?
All colors.
Oh, it's
We
just
have
not red and green.
blue, yellow, pink, green, all colors of the rainbow. Just depends on which side of the road you're on what color you get. That's why we have different stations. We have different colors at different stations. So when you come through, we know that you've been through all 3 stations. and we'll have water stations set up
Now,
along the way.
folks, on this program tonight, you can watch birds. You can go look at birds, and we'll tell you all about birds. Or if you want to get colored, you can get colored here. We really got a program when
We
you talk
do,
about
we
this.
do. If they want more information about this, we encourage them to call the Chamber of Commerce, and that phone number is 825-2561, and get pre-registered, and we hope to have a lot of people come out. Again, like I said, we want this to really be a family thing for everyone to come out, and like I said, baby strollers, whatever. Come on out and join the fun.
Okay. And that all happens on October 12th. And the time again is
8 a.m. for
8 a.m.
registration. The race starts at 9.
Okay. All right, we've covered that a little bit. We're going to go back to birds. Give me some interesting facts about birds. We've talked about how they fly at night, which I didn't know. We've talked about they go on such little energy. Give me some more facts about birds.
I think one of the most interesting facts I've heard recently is one that Amy picked up. She's working on her banding permits, and banding is when you, well, she can talk about it, but you had an interesting story about banding hummingbirds in West Virginia.
Oh, I do.
And there's that one particular bird.
So what a lot of people don't realize about hummingbirds is they tend to come back to the same feeder year after year. And
I
actually,
mean the same feeder or the same town?
Same feeder.
Same
So
feeder.
they come back to Connersville?
Exactly. So when I was training, as he said, I'm training to learn how to band hummingbirds. So what we basically do is we catch the hummingbirds in a trap, and we process them really quickly, meaning that we take some measurements on them. So we'll see how long their wing is, we'll see how long their tail is, we look to see if they have any fat on them, looking at their health. And at the same time, we're putting a little band on them. It's really tiny, but it's almost like a Social Security number. That the number that goes on to the hummingbird is very specific to the bander, and no other number would be the same. And so when I was in West Virginia learning how to band the hummingbirds, there were 2 hummingbirds that I banded that were at least 7 years old. And we know that they were at least 7 years old because of that band that was put on them 7 years prior.
That has to be minute.
It is.
band.
It's really tiny. Interesting enough, hummingbirds are tough birds. I mean, if you think about them being able to fly all the way from Canada down to Mexico.
I always heard they rode on somebody, but that's
no,
not true.
that's not true. Sorry, that's not
I
true.
heard they rode on the back of a big bird.
Yeah.
That's not true.
But by banding, by looking at this banding data, we were able to determine that the 2 birds that I banded that were 7 years old had actually come back to that same feeder on the same day at almost the same time it had been banded 7 years prior. So it's fun to know that the hummingbirds that we have at the sanctuary right now, and the hummingbirds that folks who are watching right now, those could potentially be the same hummingbirds that you had 4 or 5 years ago.
What's the average lifespan of a bird?
It's about anywhere between 2 to 5 years, and
All birds are pretty much the same.
it depends on their habitat, the type of bird that they are. I would say gulls and larger birds probably live a little longer life. And then some of the feeder birds that you have may live 6, 7 years. I had a goldfinch that I banded I also banded at Houston Woods, and that I think it was a goldfinch, had been banded 5 years prior. So we know that it's at least in its actual 6th year. So, it's just it's determined by the habitat, the food sources that they have, and the predators that are around.
So how do you hold that hummingbird to
Very
get that
carefully.
band?
Very
carefully. We actually, to band them, we take a woman's hose, so your pantyhose, and we cut the end off. And when we're holding the hummingbird, we'll put it in that in a little sock, and it kind of holds it and cradles it so that it doesn't move around too much. But other than that, like I say, they're tough birds. So you're holding them very carefully in your hand so that you can process it, and literally it takes less than 3 minutes to hold it do what you need to do to put the band on it and get it on its way.
Does it try to bite you?
No, no. Actually, birds, when you are banding birds, they've never been held by humans before. So they don't know what to do. So most of their reaction is they calm down. And since they're not going anywhere because you're holding them properly, they don't make much noise, and they don't try to bite. Now, cardinals, on the other hand, cardinals are seed eaters. And if they get a hold of you with their beak, they do hurt, and they can draw blood pretty easily. But it's a very rare case, because as a bander, I train to do this, and I'm very careful with what with
wear
how
gloves?
I handle them. No gloves, because number one, as long as you're handling them properly, you don't use gloves. If someone was banding maybe a larger owl of some kind, or maybe a red-tailed hawk or something, you would probably want to, but by processing them really quickly and learning techniques, there's no need for gloves. And you really need your hands to manipulate and get the birds processed as quickly as you possibly can.
Okay, quickly, we talked about weddings at the bird sanctuary. What else takes place down there? What other organized activities are there besides weddings?
Well, every spring, the first weekend in May, we have the Spring Festival. And that's the Indiana Audubon Society's annual spring festival. And that is held at the sanctuary the first weekend in May every year. So that's a fairly major event. And then we've got the butterfly count and the bird count. One thing I wanted to add about the butterfly and bird count is that when let's say we have 15 people show up, there are really good birders, there are in-between birders, and there's people who don't know birds at all. And we try and break them up and separate them on teams, so there's really an expert that goes out with everybody.
Okay.
And then we separate, because it's a big property. So, one group will go to the southwest corner, one will go to the southeast corner, one, walk through the central part. So that's
It's
an
cold
event.
because it's there
It is
after
cold.
Christmas.
We dress appropriately.
And then do you take them all in your house and give them hot chocolate when they get back?
Of course.
We usually have a pitch-in dinner at lunchtime where
Oh, they bring food with them, huh?
it's a combination of that. We've developed a tradition of serving some pretty good chili. So and then after lunch, some people have other things they have to go tend to.
You don't know who's coming. They just come.
No,
Oh, they usually let us know to a certain extent. But
So how
some
many will you
just show
have?
up.
I think the biggest crowd we've had is probably around 20.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could handle that.
One of the other things that we kind of wanted to throw out there is that the Indiana Audubon Society is starting a brand new program this year called, and you alluded to it a minute ago, called Bird Town, which is a program where communities such as Connersville can earn a designation as a bird town. And there's a series of little qualifications. It's an application process that the community could submit to the Indiana Audubon Society. And if the Audubon Society committee approves it, then Connersville could be designated a bird town, which would put it on the map in terms of people who are birders would say, oh, there's a bird town here. Let's go see what they've got. And that would help draw in some of the economic stuff that we're talking about.
And what's the qualifications for that?
I'm not sure I could cite them all off.
Okay.
But I don't think that it's anything that Connersville couldn't commit to. It doesn't require any financial commitment. But one of the urgent things of the moment is that this year it's free.
Okay.
It's a free, and we get signs to hang up outside the town, welcoming you, like with the Kiwanis and Rotary Club and things like that. We get a free sign at this point. Next year there's going to be a fee that goes with that because the signs are not inexpensive.
Now, where do we get this application at?
Well, Amy and I are we're willing to try and work with the community if the community would like to do that, to try and get that to happen. We've got the materials, and the IndianaAudubon.org website has the materials as well.
Sure.
So anybody could go there to see what the application's involved.
I think that's a wonderful plus for our community.
That's something the chamber ought to look
Yeah,
at.
that's
Yeah.
absolutely.
Bring that up in your
I
meeting.
will.
Yeah.
I will. That.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to work on that.
You know, as I sit here and listen to this, I envy them. They get to live down there in this peaceful place and get up on Saturday morning and go look
Listen
at
to the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of us got to go to a meeting or we got
This
to go
morning
to
was
work.
kind of a little too much salt on that. I was grading papers. I teach at the middle school. I was grading papers.
Well, you
on
got to
the
have,
back-
no, wait a minute, you got to have a real job too.
Yes.
That's true.
Okay.
So I was grading papers at the middle
What do
school.
you teach at the middle school?
7th and 8th grade science.
Okay, now you 7th and 8th graders that hear this. This is your
That's right.
teacher here.
Well, some of them already heard this story because I was complaining about it. So had my bathrobe, drinking coffee, grading papers. Thunderstorm rolls in, total black.
This
Lights
morning?
are gone. Yep, lights are gone.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
you shouldn't have waited
absolute-
till the last minute to grade those papers.
That's
I was trying to stay ahead, Mr. Mayor. I was trying to work ahead. So, total darkness. Luckily, I found my little headlamp from bird banding, so I got around the house, but made it outside. So, it does have its downsides.
Okay. We're down to 4 minutes, and I'm going to be each one of you a minute, and I get the last minute. We'll start with you, Donna. You got a minute.
Okay, my minute is Color Me 5K Walk Run, October the 12th at Roberts Park in Connersville. Come out, join the fun. We're going to have, like I said, a magician. We're going to have face painting. We're going to have a DJ. It's going to be a fun day, and if you miss out, it's going to be sad for you.
You got your minute. Next.
Okay, so
Amy.
My minute is just going to be talking about birds. So, we all grow up and we all have our computers and we all have our cell phones and we all have things to do. But if you're looking for something to do that's low cost, basically no cost, come out to the Mary Gray Bird Sanctuary and take a hike. Enjoy the birds that are coming around here. We've got we've got fall migrants right now that look totally different in the spring than they do in the fall. And pick up a pair of binoculars, and if Carl and I are out and about, come and talk to us, and we'd love to share our passion with you and the community, because we're really a gem, and a lot of people will say, oh, I haven't been out to the sanctuary in years.
Absolutely.
And we want to change that. We're trying to give back to our community by offering the trails and the hiking, and so stop out. We'd love to see you.
Carl?
The sanctuary is a marvelous resource. It's amazing how many times I'll find people that say, I haven't been out here in years. I'll have parents of school groups I take out there, and they'll say, I've lived here all my life and I've never been here. One of the challenges that the sanctuary is going to have today, and we're going to develop in the future, is we do have a number of invasive species that are moving in, plants that should not be in Indiana. And so to help improve the health of the sanctuary, we're going to be trying to do some work to get rid of those invasive plants. So there's opportunity for people to get involved, not just visiting the sanctuary, but hopefully helping take care of the place as well.
Okay.
So
Now I get my minute.
go for it.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming. This has been a real interesting program. I came here real tired. I've had a busy day. I've been to Shelbyville to a meeting this afternoon. We had that health fair up at Vistion with SAPA, and then I ran home. My wife had 2 of my daughter's senior pictures, just a sneak preview, and then tried to eat a bite and get down here and be with you folks. And I was really tired, but you perked me up because I get all this interest in these birds, and I hear about this run. And now he tells me we got 1 minute. But it has really been interesting because my wife is a great bird feeder. She has them over here, she has them over here, and the squirrels eat right down below them. I can't believe she can feed the squirrels and the birds. And then she has cats, and the cats don't seem to bother the birds because she feeds them high. But it's really interesting, and I really do envy your life until you told me you had to teach school. Now, when you told me you had to teach school, now he says we have 30. And Donna, you're my neighbor, and you're always an interesting person, and I so much thank you for coming tonight and
It's my pleasure.
talking about this color run. I don't know if I'll be in town. We're scheduled to get this thing closed at Vistion, and if we ever get it closed on Vistion, if I get that closed, I'm going to take a
You're
week
going
off.
to take it out.
I've been waiting and waiting, and now he tells us, thank you everybody for watching tonight, and remember all these things we've told you. Remember the 5K run with the color. Remember the Mary Gray Bird Sanctuary. Visit it this fall and enjoy it.
Connersville's best kept secret.
Thank you so much, and join us next time on Connersville Speaks. Thank you and good night.